Okay, so our third progression on this whole squat progression that we're doing is going to be just a straight up bodyweight squat. Before you would introduce a load like a barbell, dumbbells, machine weight, anything like that, you need to make sure that the person's capable of doing a bodyweight squat. Otherwise, just adding supplemental weight will just reinforce some bad technique. So basically, now that we have no wall, we have no box, this is where people tend to run into a little bit of problems with their technique. So you can assume it's the regular squatting stance we've been using the whole time, which is a little bit wider than shoulder width. Toes are pointed outward just slightly. And then you can do this a couple ways. You can let someone put the hands on the hips. You can let them use the hands straight out in front of them for a little bit of counterbalance. Or you can just have them cross over the chest or behind the head like a prisoner style squat. Bottom line is no matter what you do, you got to make sure that the chest stays nice and upright, pushing the hips back. And we're really with no wall and with no box, you really have to be conscious of the knee position relative to the toes. So from the front, again, you're breaking with the hips first rather than just going straight down. Because again, if you let someone go straight down, the first thing you're going to see is the knees are going to shoot well beyond the toes, which is going to increase the shear stress on the knees. So shoulder width stance, pushing the hips back. You're going to flare the knees out a little bit just to make sure that they stay lined up with the feet. Somebody who is either incredibly stiff on the inside of the legs in their adductors or is incredibly weak in the glutes is going to see their knees shoot in almost every single time. Okay, sometimes it's just a simple matter of verbal reinforcement in terms of push the knees out, push the knees out. Sometimes it's necessary to introduce some special exercises for the glutes and some soft tissue work like some foam rolling for the inside of the legs to loosen that tissue up. Because if the inside of the legs are tight, it's going to want to pull the knees in. And if the glutes are real weak, then it's not going to be able to resist that temptation to pull everything in. So basically, when you come down, the knees should stay right over top of the feet. The goal is, if you can, to break parallel at the hip joint. So ideal would be to get the hip underneath the knee joint. From the side would be down almost to the point where you feel like the hamstrings and the calves are about making contact with each other. Certain athletes or certain people, you won't be able to get that, at least not right away. Someone is incredibly tight in the lower back, you know, they get this little tilt of the pelvis where the tailbone wants to tuck under the butt, the posterior pelvic tilt. They need to be doing some flexibility and mobility work for the glutes, hamstrings, and lower back. Sometimes when people, the super tall athletes have a real hard time getting low into a parallel squat regardless. So that would be where you need to make some modifications to what you expect out of their depth. But I typically would start everybody with the expectation that if not right away, the long-term goal is to get them to be breaking parallel, if not even a little bit low. Okay, so just pushing the hips back. Again, you want to keep the eyes up to avoid the tendency to want to tilt over. And then if you can get a little bit lower right there, now you're breaking parallel, that's perfect. Okay, now go ahead and face the other direction. Okay, so you can see at the bottom of the squat, go ahead and squat down. See just a little tendency for the tailbone to want to tuck under. We know that Christine already has a tight lower back and some tight glutes, so that's something that she needs to remedy already. But that tends to be basically the culprit, and that is just working on increasing the flexibility and mobility through the posterior chain from the lower back down to basically the back of the knees. Through soft tissue work, foam rolling, tennis ball work, lacrosse ball work will usually remedy that sort of issues. Other than that, reform looks to be pretty spot on.